I asked them what happened. They were very clear that everything happened really quickly. They came in, they shouted, they cleared the restaurant, and they said that they were detained.
And welcome back to Square Off. That was an attorney who spoke with some of the 39 employees arrested in federal immigration authorities' raids on Zip sports grills across the valley. The chain was slowly reopening restaurants this past week. As we speak, on Friday morning, just 4 of the employees have been charged in what federal prosecutors say is a sweeping investigation. The Square Off Journalist panel steps in now to discuss the takeaways from those raids and other immigration actions. Joining us, Jessica Boehm, reporter with Axios Phoenix, and Elvia Diaz, former Arizona Republic editorial page editor, now independent journalist for the Substack Notas con Elvia Diaz. Welcome back to Square Off.
Thank you for having us.
I should say, in addition to the Zips raid, we also learned that ICE paid $70 million for a West Valley warehouse the size of 7 football fields, presumably for detentions. We're going to talk a bit more about that in just a moment. Elvia, you were at the scene of one of the Zips. What stands out to you and what you saw there?
Well, they were doing their jobs from the beginning. They were coming out of the building when I arrived. But what is not normal, Brahm, is the fact that I got to see up close and personal how masked people feel and interact with, well, in this case, they didn't interrupt, but I could see that it's unnecessary to do something like that. You know,
the masking.
The mask, you know. So we didn't know what was happening at the time. We didn't know if they actually had a search warrant or not. Now we know that they did. So now we know that they were doing their jobs. But again, is what has been happening with ICE across the country that makes this volatile and that makes it interesting. And that's why I ran to the establishment as soon as I knew they were there.
What's interesting, and it's an important distinction to make, these were HSI, Homeland Security Investigations agents. The ERO, the removal office, are the folks we see in the streets. That's a different group of people from the ones you saw going into.
In an operation like this is exactly what you expect from any president, really. They're targeted operations. They go, they investigate, they get a search warrant, a judicial one and an executive one, which is a huge difference there. And then you go and execute. I would say that's the normal process, the expected process. And so that's what happened here. The issue is that we have seen was playing out across the country, especially in Minneapolis, where you have an ICE, again, there's a difference, right? But you have an ICE agency that is rogue, that is going out on the streets, targeting people of color. And I say people of color because they're not respecting legal status of people. So that's the combination that makes this newsworthy. I mean, we would not be talking about it if they were just a normal operation that they executed.
We saw something similar from former Sheriff Joe Arpaio back in, I think, 2008 at the Uncle Sam's restaurant.
We sure did.
Total flashback this past week. What message do you think this sends to hospitality workers, to employers?
Well, I think everyone has already been a little on edge, right? There was a story in the beginning of January in the Bulwark that really sent people into a panic that said that Phoenix was going to be the next place after Minneapolis where immigration enforcement was going to pick up. Even before that, I think we all have expected that it would happen at some time during this election year. So when this happened, and yes, it was not in the U.S. Attorney's Office, originally was very clear, like, this is not an ICE sweep. And it wasn't in the traditional way that they just showed up at a random place and started checking papers,
But
right?
they didn't provide enough information either. They would only say that it was a criminal investigation. That was it. That's all we need.
Correct. And so what was difficult was we were all trying to understand in that moment what was going on, but we have since learned, like, obviously this has been almost a year-long investigation. But again, it didn't matter in that moment because of the fear that it already was existing. We saw demonstrations break out across the valley, and I would expect that to continue. This was like a shock point, and depending on what happens next, and obviously ICE has just purchased a warehouse here, like, that fear it will continue.
And it's in West Valley, and Surprise, and the Arizona Republic just confirmed
Correct.
It's going to be a detention center.
Yes, a 1,500-bed processing center for ICE is what the Republic was able to report this morning.
So the Zips raid was the fourth of a restaurant chain in the last 7 months or so. But we haven't seen the large deployments like we've seen in Minneapolis or Chicago. What do you think might be going on?
I don't think they have enough agents to actually send everywhere. So I believe that they are focusing on Minneapolis, Minnesota, but it is going to happen. And we don't know what kind of enforcement is going to be here in Arizona. But again, this is big news because of what ICE is doing elsewhere. We saw in Minneapolis where they killed 2 U.S. citizens. And then you have an entire establishment, the Republican Party, defending the officers and essentially blaming the victims all the time. So the only defense that you have as a citizen right now is your cell phone, is to record, and we as journalists to record what's happening, to tell the truth and to tell what we see. So that's why you're going to be seeing a lot of people showing up to any of these operations. What
fascinates me is what HSI is doing with these restaurant raids. It seems like it's going to test the theory that if undocumented workers are pushed out, American workers will rush in.
Right.
What do you think about that?
No, I had the same thought. Like, obviously, knowing that this investigation started back in March, that's right after the president took office. And obviously, the talking point was that these resources, these agents, were going to be focused on the very worst criminals. This is not that. So, but that has been the change, right? That now we're talking about, it's about jobs. And we need to, stop undocumented people from taking jobs that Americans would fill. There are so many undocumented workers in our economy in Arizona. It will be very fascinating to see whether that is something that's going to work out for the administration's theory.
I have always said that if you really want to crack down on illegal immigration, go after the employers. Really go after the employers and charge them, because someone is hiring them, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing an agency targeting the workers, not the employers.
So I would add, in the 3 other restaurant cases, they have gone after the employers. One was sentenced to 20 months in prison. In this one, they haven't yet announced any charges against the employer. I think it's just they are slowly rolling it out.
Right, they might.
It is still possible. Let's move on. State politics. Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs threw a Democratic AG, Chris Mays, under the bus over Mays' comments on Arizona's self-defense law, how it relates to ICE. Here's what Hobbs told reporters. Let's listen.
I'm not going to litigate her remarks. I think they were inappropriate, and I think she should retract them. If she's had to do as much explaining as she has, it didn't hit the mark.
If she has to do all that explaining as she has, it didn't hit the mark, the governor said. Governor Hobbs appeared to be well prepared for that question. Why did she call out her fellow Democrat?
I mean, this is exactly the difference that they've adopted since they've been elected. Like, Attorney General Mays has been quick to go after the president, quick to say things that have, in this case, been taken to a very controversial place. The governor has not, and I think that she is seeing all the heat. I mean, you spoke with Senator Kavanaugh earlier. She's seeing all the heat that the Attorney General is getting, and she's like, "This isn't my fight, and I'm not joining in with that."
She's staying on that line. How do you
She did not miss an opportunity to score political points here with potentially with moderate Republicans and defend cops essentially. So I don't think there is any love lost between Katie Hobbs and the Attorney General. But going back to the substance of the case, I still don't know exactly what the messaging was off. And you even tried to warn Chris Mays right here. I remember seeing the clip. But one of the things that I will go back is that she stated a few facts. The law does exist. The situation is volatile. We have a state that is a gun-loving state for sure. So, but it was just a messaging, right? That didn't come off right.
Obviously.
Right.
Just look at the reaction.
But the governor says retract. I'm not sure what is she going to say, because if she already explained, and she's
on the record and just gave Republicans something to use in a campaign video.
Right, exactly. That's what it is. It's all politics.
Real quick, Hugh Lytle, independent candidate. Does he have a chance? Yes or no?
He's going to be fascinating. I have known him from social events. He is serious. He's smart. He has the money. I like serious competition in a democracy. So I'm excited to see him.
Yes or no?
I think it's going to be real tough.
Real tough. Real tough. Got to end it there. Elvia Diaz, Jessica Boehm, thanks so much for joining us.